Everybody, Chris and Lumen here, and this is going to be a really exciting video. I'm excited. Can you see the excitement in my face? I'm actually much more animated and lovable on the inside in 5D, but I'm excited about this, especially after last night's little trip down memory lane. But again, Sophia steers you. She's sometimes she has a plan that you don't see it until it's like almost complete. And now it's complete because we're about to start a new initiative. And I think a lot of it can be retroactive for people that already have stuff to just blow the doors open with what we do here with people. And where it started was like when I got up this morning, like it was really hard to get up this morning. I just didn't feel good. Like energetically, everything. I still kind of like I get kind of depressed when I bring up that hero's journey stuff because there's a problem in it that I hadn't yet figured anything out for, which is what I detailed in the last video. I'm like, I don't even know how I did it. And the the situation that I was in was such that I had to devote like all my attention to this for multiple years for me to be able to pull off finishing that whole hero's journey, connecting to them, all that stuff. It's like I've never seen anyone else do it. I'm like, how could I expect anyone else to do it? Like that can't be it. It can't be. You cannot expect everybody to do that. So what am I missing? What am I missing? So not feeling. I was trying to get myself moving again. Usually, what works is not looking at my phone, and then instead I'll put Lumen's playlist on and I'll run it through the Bluetooth speaker down here at the bottom of the altar, and I'll just work on packages or pendants or whatever like that and listen to music. And I usually I put some of her favorite songs toward the end of the playlist so that it will immediately start going into random, which then she'll pick them. And then my energy will go up and up and up and up, and then things will start popping into my head. So what popped into my head real quiet at first, and then I started pulling that thread. I'm like, what if there's another way? What if there is another way? And I'm like, would this work? And then Sophia said something which she said before, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit because like I've actually said this out loud before. I've wondered. Now you got to kind of understand that spiritual stuff at the highest level is like quantum consciousness. So she's really good with like technology and things like that. And I've often wondered if Sophia was like the original Q, if you know the whole Q thing that was online years ago. Now, eventually it kind of transmorphed into like a fake Q and a bunch of conspiracy nonsense. But the original Q was very strange with its messaging. But one of its taglines was, "Where we go one, we go all." And that's what she said. And then that just kind of built on the idea that I was formulating in my head. And then it started to make sense to me. And the good thing about that is all it take like if you have the know-how on how to use your mind to create this kind of stuff, the key ingredient to whether or not it's going to do what you want it to do is, does it make sense to you? Is the way that you're building it and the things that you're doing it and that leads to the end result that you're going for, does it make sense? If it makes sense, it works like 100% of the time. And this made sense. So I'm going to talk about what we're going to try to do here that's going to hopefully dramatically improve everybody's connection to Sophia and Lumen. And Lumen. And then if we have time afterwards, there's something else she's been showing me that I think is really, really important, but that depends on how long it takes to get through this. If not, it'll be the next video. So if you want to know what, the big hubbub is that we're getting ready to do, then don't go away.
Well, make a wish, baby. Well, and I will make it come true. Make a list, baby, of the things I'll do for you. Ain't no risk now in letting my love rain down on you. So we could wash away the past so that we may start anew.
Okay, so anybody that's got any of our stuff so far can pretty much agree that it's got some divine energy in it. I saw another review pop up here a few minutes ago on Etsy. Same thing. It's like easier meditating. I'm seeing all these colors. I feel great. But what I remembered was way back in the beginning when I mainly made oils. Now, I got some new oils too. Oils is a completely different thing. Some people actually like the oils better because you're like activating the energy in you. It has immediate effects. But I'm friends. I have a friend who's like, for all lack of a better term, she's like a super psychic. Can't really define what she does here in town. And back when I first started doing this, like she used to test all my stuff. Like I would, especially when I was experimenting with things. Like she would just like I'd hand it to her. She wouldn't look at any label or anything, and she would just feel it. And she would see what the energy was doing, see what the changes were, and she would be able to tell the difference between like people like us and like a regular person, the differences. And one thing that she said, like this was like maybe 2 years before we knew about them, was she's like, some of these oils there's like consciousness in them. There's something else in there. It was Sophia. We just didn't know that yet. So you see, it's not just energy that these things have, but because I haven't spoken of it or verbally had the right intention with doing it, like we haven't fully activated it to its fullest extent. Only the people that are further along are picking up more on that level. So it's not just Sophia's charging it with energy. Like the energy it's being charged with in her are like, you can't separate them. It's one and the same. But if we're not thinking about that, if we're not conscious of that, we're not activating that. So the question became, if especially the way the world is right now toward the end of the game, and it being like near impossible to expect anybody to go through all the stuff that I went through, what does she mean by where we go one, we go all? Maybe you don't need everybody. Maybe you just need I'm sure there's more people like me out there. Maybe you just need the one person to do it and then pass it on to other people. So this is what popped into my head first. One of the 72 names of God, which is something that we use all the time with programming things and putting certain effects into things. And that one is number 38. These are kind of like mini Sophia matrix programs. So number 38, which is Cha'am. Now let me explain what Cha'am does here. The subtitle for this is Sharing the Self. It's talking about magic because this is like kind of like a divine magic book. To receive through magic, you need to give and share through magic. With the name Cha'am, you can share yourself and give your love and wisdom to others. And there's two types of magic with two pronunciations. And these are all kind of like encoded. like it does not like flush them out big time. Like a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense until she explains it to you. So the things that it has listed is unleashing your truth, releasing your love, to convey wisdom, and to be known by others, which I don't know what that's all about. But the key thing was in the description. You can share yourself and give your love and wisdom to others. That's an interesting pairing, don't you think? Because Sophia is wisdom and Lumen is love. And because we are all connected, those of us that have, the light in us, it's like the flower of life. I've explained this before. The flower of life is a sacred geometry symbol for Sophia, and it is also synonymous with the original meaning of the church, or what they also called the body of Christ, body of light, because we are all the small circles within the larger circle, which is her. So it's like if she's like the network of circles, she's the shape, that's Sophia, and then you power it with light, that's Christ, and that's how we are all connected. Where we go one, we go all. So I think the reason I never really thought of this is because I typically mentally think of Lumen as my Lumen. Now, but remember what she slipped into the last video, the explanation. Uh, and I don't know that this is like a completely accurate representation, but it just kind of made sense. So it's kind of like 4D. There's like a 4D Lumen, mental Lumen, and she is shaped to me. She is a reflection of me. She is my ideal. But I also said sometimes the higher energy steps into her and she becomes the divine love Lumen. That's 5D Lumen. So what that's talking about is you can share yourself and give your love and wisdom to others. Give your Lumen and your Sophia to others. Which means I've already unlocked it. I can just give it to you. If it clicks with you, if it makes sense with you and you accept it. Now you might still have to go through a process of getting used to it and all this stuff, but it's going to activate a higher level here. I'm like, why didn't I think of this before? I think I did think of it before, but it just didn't like click quite yet. But again, it was me seeing my version of Lumen that kind of threw it off. Like that one's mine. But what is behind her? Like, what I see Lumen as, like that's the form. But what's behind it is bigger than just mine. Because that's like God's love. God's love is that's like the true source frequency. God's love, God's wisdom. Sophia's the wisdom. Wisdom and love. Those are the two things you need. I'm like, holy crap. So we came up with a couple ways to program this and do it, like several different ways. And I'm gonna give you an example here of what we set up. I'm just gonna use this. I'm gonna show you how we're packaging things now, because like we've got several, like everything serves a purpose. Like there's layers upon, like sometimes it looks like, oh, I got a bracelet and I got a pendant, but like how many many things like went into that. We're going to break this down. Like this is, and you'll see what I'm realizing now is like she's got this, she's now set this up to where it's like the complete package. That's why we got all this other stuff that we put in that's no charge, all the Benedict stuff. And what does it take, as far as the Benedict stuff, the reason why, the We got the bracelets, and then the metals. Well, we always give you at least 2 metals and a couple little split rings. Um, and those are all charged and powerful, and people actually feel the energy off of those. We talked about this before, in case you're just joining us. So I packed the whole program into this oil. Inside of it, it's got the best stones that are anti-negative energy stones, and then a couple of the highest vibrational light stones. And then I've got multiple different magical oils, which I retuned myself and like kind of divine overrided it. But I took the basic program: uncrossing, block busting, uh, Holy Spirit oil, evil be gone. I'm missing something. Road opening. No, basically breaking through blocks. And then again, these are also from the 72 names of God. And all those have very specific purposes of like attacking and breaking down the negative interference at different levels. You know, I've got a picture of Christ on there to represent that. And I've got the Benedict medal attached to the bottom, and I'm charged it with the Benedict exorcism. So there's something like 15 levels of freaking divine magic in this oil. And that's what and then that saves me time. So when I'm packing things up, I take the metals and I take the bracelets and I anoint them with the oil. And then I just speak the Benedict exorcism into them and then blow the light into it. And then my kind of visualization, different methods that I use that channels the energy into it. And that's how I do it. And you'll see why that's important, like why she wanted me to get all that stuff and include it free. Because what are the 2 things that everybody needs to do to connect to the light? For the most part, A, you got to connect to the light, but B, you have to get the interference out of the way, which that's the adversary. And the adversary mind is specifically what the Benedict exorcism is designed for. So it's like we're giving you that free. Now you can go further with it, like with the Aegis pendants and stuff like that. So just to give you an example here, so this is how we're packing things now. I just got the cards today and she told me what to do with them. So I actually take my little labels and I use different pictures of Lumen and stuff. And I'll typically put this one particular name, well, I'm using 2 now, which is Harrock. That's like the main one we use. I think I'm missing that page in that book. But that title is Movement into the Light. And it is like first glimmer of hope, you know, to find relief regardless of circumstances. It's like, you know, when you move into the light, you know, it's like becoming a whole new moment in time. But the key thing is like movement into the light, into Lumen. So that's kind of like the main one that we use. And I'll show you some of the other things I've made, but let's just, like this is a person that ordered 1 pendant. And here's everything that's in it. So here's the first thing. We take this thank you card off. Got the little glue dot. So these are the little stickers that I made. I'll just put it up on the screen. It says at the bottom, my light is your light. And I've got my images, and it doesn't have to look that way for you, but maybe it will because of the way we're doing it. My images that I use, it's the same ones that's up here of Lumen and Sophia. And then I've got the first name up top, which is Cha'am. That's the one I just read to you about, you know, give your love and wisdom to others. The one underneath of it is Harrock. And then I've just got like the pronunciations, the names of those 2, Lumen and Sophia. Can't really see in here because of the light. Love and wisdom. So this is kind of like the thing, like not only are you reading it, you're receiving it when you receive your package, but this is kind of like the final divine magic that I'm doing to it, just for lack of a better word, is like after I've done everything else and all the programs for whatever else it's supposed to do, then I'm going to literally not just put the energy in it, I'm putting Lumen and Sophia in it. So like I said, and then I put that on there too. So I got all these little Lumen labels that's usually got those names on it. I'll have to repack this one. So you pop this off, and I've got these little jewelry polishing cloths for the pendants. And then this is usually how I pack them. I know people probably don't wear these, but it was just a fun idea that we did. Sometimes I'll use this to anoint them with the oils. So I got my little Lumen silicone bands. But then we've got, that's all charged, anointed, blessed, empowered. Those are the Benedict bracelets. And I'll usually include 2 of the mid-sized Benedict metals, a couple different split rings, and if I have enough of them, I'll include one of those little mini gate clips. So like you could feasibly put it on one of the metals and either attach it to your key ring, or you could either clip it on your string to your pendant. And then I'm not going to unwrap this one because it's for somebody. But then I'll take the pendants and I'll get them all shined up and everything. I'll wrap them with tissue paper and then seal it with one of the Lumen stickers that's got the Harrock on it. Because every time I see that mentally, like I'm sealing it with her constantly. Every time, like this energy and the names and the imagery and everything is just compounding the energy into it, compounding the energy into it. So that it's literally swimming in all that different energy. Plus, I'm going to anoint the charging and stuff. When I charge the pendants, I gotta connect it to quantum entangle it to the actual person that's getting it. They always sit up here on this freaking nuclear reactor for a while, usually on top of the clear apophyllite. And then depending on what the purpose of it is, will determine like what kind of oils I would use on it. Like if it's an Aegis pendant, like one of the anti-negativity pendants, I would use this, which I'm putting that on all the metals anyway. Sometimes if it's, I got some pendants that are just like mostly light-based pendants, but they also have Benedict metals on them. So I'll like use some sort of light anointing oil, Sophia oil on the pendant, and I'll use that on the metal. But what I'm going to do now is I made 2 of them. So these are the ones, like I've got my own sets for doing the work and everything here, but one of these I think I'm going to put on the store, which is going to be this one. It's similar to ones I've already done, but we just keep amping it up further and further and further. So this is the Into the Light oil. I called it that based on, again, I've got the name Harrock on there. Of course, an image of Lumen. And I've got some really potent, like divine energy crystals. And at least with this one, in particular, being that it's going to be used for everything else, I've actually got one of those Tibetan quartzes, one of those Tibetan celestial quartzes in there, that like that high vibes stuff I just got. But they wouldn't be in the other ones. I would just charge it up here because those are mostly for the pendants. But I've got a whole bunch of other stuff, especially like clear quartz. Now I can take clear quartz. Clear quartz is like the most versatile stone. It's called the master crystal. A lot of people just don't think much of it because they get used to certain stones doing certain things. Well, clear quartz can pretty much do everything. And the best thing about it is it's one of the 2 most programmable stones. So I could literally take, and I've done this before. Like I do whenever I'm with another spiritual person that is energy sensitive, I always it's like, let's do experiments. Because when I do something and then somebody that's got that ability can immediately tell me what they feel, then I know it works. It just builds me up even further and further and further because I know. Like that is a no when it's a knowing, like then it always works. But your left hand is your input, right hand is output. So what I could do, so this bowl that I got here sitting up here, like this is what I got all those Tibetan quartz crystals in. But they're sitting on a bed of just tumbled clear quartz. But these aren't just regular clear quartzes anymore, because what I started these out with is I took this whole batch of clear quartz, put it in this bowl, and then I filled it with chrism water. So now it's chrism quartz. So I could actually take any of these like little pieces of clear quartz, and then all I do is I take the Tibetan celestial quartz in this hand, and I take the clear quartz in the right hand, and then I can just transfer the frequency of the Tibetan quartz into the clear quartz. And then I take the clear quartz and I can put it in the oil bottle. So once you learn how to do this and just know that you can, like it's freaking easy. You can pretty much do anything you freaking want. Like I said, I can make people. The only time, like I could say, I could do just about anything custom. The only thing that I can't do, and someone actually asked me this the other day, and I'm like, oh, there's that. They're like, can you make something that will help with money? Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, not. Just having been through 7+ years of stuff, and a large portion of that being like money being scarce, it's different. Like if you are detached from the world, if you're unplugged from the world in your process, like I said before, you can't even use like manifestation magic, or none of that stuff works anymore. That stuff only works when you're plugged into the world, which isn't a good thing. When you're unplugged for it, then you have to learn how to use grace. And I don't know we'll have enough time for that in this one, but that's what this other part that I was talking about has to do with. But no, money is kind of like the backbone of one of the biggest lessons of getting from where you used to be into grace, because you're always stressing out about it. And it takes a long time to get used to the idea that you're being taken care of. So I don't know how many months out of like, I was in the other apartment for like 72 months. I don't know how many of those months it's like, how am I gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay rent. But looking backwards, that's one of the times looking backwards is actually helpful. It's like I always did it. Even if I didn't think I was going to be able to, somehow I would end up with enough. And that's when I really started to realize is like, she is literally taking care of you, and you're not recognizing it because you're thinking more in terms of comfort and things that you want. But how many times, like, even though it seems like you're struggling, which it may feel like struggling, but somehow you always end up getting it paid. Now, when you learn to detach from the world and get into that other mode, it will get easier. But we'll stop there because that's getting too much into the next topic. But, there's other things like this one, like I made for myself when I want to know something. I can do all sorts of combinations. Now you have to, the 72 Names of God programs are highly dependent on the amount of light somebody has in order to activate them. Highly dependent on that. Now what we're doing is different. we're putting it in there for you. But say for instance, you just like here's the story of this book, because that was like back in the early days when I was still messing around with magic and stuff, and I was buying all the Gallery of Magic books. Nobody in the magic community liked that book. They didn't understand it. They didn't know, it didn't make sense to them. They didn't feel like it did anything for them, and they quickly just like, no, I don't want to do that. Give me the demon book. I'm going to summon a demon and ask for sex and money. Like that was literally like the mentality of the magic community back then. But even in like the other like modality of thought where you'll find like the 72 names would be like the Kabbalistic stuff. But like anybody connected to the light can use them, but it's like you don't even notice them, and then one day it's kind of like you're pulled to them. That's how it was with me. Any of the magic books, and it usually ended up only being two and then only one, because then I made it all myself. But even the other book, the backbone of it was it had the 72 names in it. Like as your light grows, you start getting pulled to it, and it works a little bit more. You don't understand what they all mean, but when you end up needing one of them, then it's like she just makes you understand it all of a sudden. Now I understand what they all do. But but again, like if you're just kind of sort of attached to the light, like you might get minimal things, but I'm fully unlocked. Like I literally have the light. I'm married to her. So they work freaking, I can run them at full power. And I love it's, I bring it up all the time just because it's one of my like top 3 moments in magic, but sometimes I show the video on here. You got caught by the security camera across the street. But I was messing with the 72 name. Now maybe I wasn't doing it the right way, because the result that I got wasn't what I expected. But I was using them one time trying to discharge my emotional capacitor. So that was when I was still pretty traumatized. I was trying to send all the negative energy back to its source. I started hearing like, thunderstorm coming in. And that was just like 2 names that I put together. As soon as I said the names and thought about discharging it, the loudest freaking bang ever, I thought lightning hit me. And I freaked out like, oh my God, did I do something I wasn't supposed to do? But it turned out the lightning was actually leaving here. And I didn't know what happened until about 15 minutes later, when my ex-wife called me and said the lightning just hit the tree in the front yard and blew it up. I'm like, whoopsie, I didn't mean to do that. But that's kind of interesting that it went to you. But that's how powerful your negative emotions are, that you're carrying around, when you're not dealing with it, when you're not clearing your old traumas. Like when I discharged it all at once, I blew out half the freaking neighborhood. Power outages. I blew out everybody's Wi-Fi routers. Um, blew up her dryer too. But of course, I later I said what I did, and it's like she believes me, but like you just kind of leave it at that, because she doesn't want to have to affirm that I have divine connections and that I can actually do those sorts of things. But these names are no joke, and some of them are mainly for guidance from Sophia, wisdom from Sophia, secret knowledge from Sophia, teaching from Sophia, and then you got the ones that are like Lumen, overcoming fear through love, unconditional love, the flow of love, love and dreams. Um, they all do slightly different things. Like I know what they all do, and I use them all the time with this. And like that one particular one, what's it for? To give your love and wisdom to others, to give your Lumen and Sophia to others. But they have to know that that's what you're doing. And they have to process it and be like, yeah, I accept this. And then you should get a lot. bigger results from that. And normally the adversary would be getting in the way of that, but she was one step ahead of me with all these Benedict medals and bracelets and stuff like that. Because what do? They shut down the adversary, and we're giving you that part for free. It's like, here's the antidote for the bad thing, here's the connection to the good thing, all in one package. I'm like, that is freaking brilliant. And it wasn't until we kind of went down memory lane and was like, that really sucked. It sucks because I don't think anyone else could do that. But she's like, look, if one person in the network can do it, they can share it with everyone else. And that kind of ties in with like the Christ stuff too. It's like, God's grace is a gift. And I can already hear what the skeptics are saying right now. So let me just say that I'm going to do a video. It'll just be like things that I've done in the past. Like, I'll put the names up on the screen and like some imagery of her or whatever, and actually speak the words. Like if you want to accept this, then here it is. Because I don't want you to think I'm putting a price tag on it. But at the same time, I do honestly think it'll work better if you've got something that's actually imprinted. But I'd be curious to see, at least if I did a video like that, then theoretically speaking, anybody that already has this stuff should be able to retroactively activate it. What was the other thing? There was something else. Let me think about this. Okay, so regarding this one, so this is like the main one that I'm going to put on the store to replace the other stuff. So this is like your universal connection, light, Harrock, Lumen, Sophia. You can just put this stuff on you. Like maybe I can get some of the old schoolers to comment and talk about their oils. But let me read to you what the Harrock one says. So movement into the light, movement into Lumen. She always side eyes me when I do that because she's like, I know what you're thinking. You're like, I didn't write it. I didn't write the title. When your feelings are clouded or stained, the name Harrock can move you to a lighter place. When you move from one place to another, you are not the same person in a different place, but a new moment of reality. Let this name move you to a place where you are free of the darkness. Now, what I think this means, but I don't want to limit it by what I think it means. I think this is why my inner world is the way that it is. It's very different from what's outside of me. And people don't ever, unless you have the experiences or you're shown or you discover it. I mean, yeah, you see it in movies and stuff like that, but it doesn't really sink in like what kind of an escape it can be just to go somewhere in your mind. But before it can be, you kind of like have to clear it out first. You have to prepare it. But also, it's talking on multiple levels of like getting out of this place and back home too. So for the inner work stuff, the things that are listed are the acceptance of a lighter mood, the first glimmer of hope, a state of happiness, and then the results stuff is to dispel dark moods. So that works really well with the Benedict stuff. To move on from emotional pain, getting past traumas, that's another key core thing. And to feel relief regardless of circumstance. And that's why, not only that, but the name of it, movement. That's why that's my favorite one that we use. And yeah, back when I made a bunch of sigils and stuff like that and shared them within the group and stuff like that. I know Enzo. Where'd you go, Enzo? You don't comment all the time anymore. Hopefully you're watching this. But wasn't that you that first start when I was making those sigils and we were focused on that Harrock name and you were describing it as like being in this golden light, like everybody described this golden light? Yeah, that's a powerful freaking name. That's why we use it. Now, the other one that I made, like, I don't know if this is redundant or not, but maybe this would be for some, maybe I could use this as an additional thing that I could throw in there if she tells me to. Like, there might be somebody out there that's just further down the scale in terms of like being in the bad place, like everything sucks. And trust me, I remember being in at that place. And it's really freaking difficult to just focus on joy and light when you're in that place because it's everything hurts. So that I took that label and made like an oil version of it with the Cha and the Harrock with Lumen and Sophia. So it's like, okay, look, dude, I know you need help. I'm giving you my Lumen and Sophia, at least the 5D Lumen and Sophia. I'm putting it in this freaking oil, which is backed by this name. So to help you, then you would use this, like you could, I always say go by your intuition when using oils, but it doesn't take much. Like one of these lasts a really long time, even with all the freaking stones in it. Don't be that guy. There were people back in the early days that thought like, the more that I put on, the better it'll be. It's not insect freaking repellent. It's an anointing oil. So all you need to do is just like, maybe rub that ball on there twice and then anoint your forehead. So you can do it right there, third eye, and then the back end of your third eye is actually the base of your skull. The third eye chakra is actually at a 45-degree upward angle. The other place would be on your heart because your heart is your link back to the light, link back to source. It's the main thing that you need to be working correctly. But you could pretty much use it anywhere. You could use it on any of the chakras. Base of the spine, get the root chakra, because no matter what happens in all the other ones, records of all those traumas are held in the root chakra. And the root chakra energy system connects to the body's sympathetic nervous system, which is the body's recording mechanism for, oh, trauma detected, record it. Trauma detected, record it. And I always say, like, the sympathetic nervous system is a scam. Because if you just Google it, they're like, the sympathetic nervous system is designed to keep you safe. Bullshit. Bullshit. So the idea is like, okay, you're a kid, you don't touch the stove. Hey, I'm gonna touch the stove, see what happens. For me, it was the muffler on the tractor, and you get burned. And then that your body records that shock, that shock trauma in your brain. So next time you're around something hot, it's like warning, warning, warning. You got hurt last time. And it reminds you not to hurt yourself again. But the problem with it is it also does the exact same thing with emotional trauma and shock. That's why everyone is a mess when they get older. And then you have to start doing the backwards work of breaking everything down, breaking down the ego, because the ego won't work anymore. So what that means is, okay, first time you get your heart broken, sympathetic nervous system records that. And maybe it ain't going to be a big deal the second time, but after the second time, now it's really recording it. So what does it do? So the third time you fall in love, now the sympathetic nervous system is picking up on those feelings and those impulses, and now it's recognizing that as a danger state. So that subconsciously, you are now in a heightened state of expecting something bad to happen. This is your body system working against you. So the first times, your partner isn't as warm as they used to be, or they have a bad day, or they're a little bit late, sympathetic nervous system starts triggering, and then the adversary mind starts being like, I know what's going on. Yeah, there was like a bunch of moving guys down the street. She probably ran into them and like having some sort of Channing Tatum Chippendale party with them or something. And it starts doing that, and then you end up wrecking the third relationship because the sympathetic nervous system recorded all that trauma and put you in a fight or flight state. Yeah, when you find out like how all the body systems work, like half of them are designed to screw you. It's stupid. Till you figure out how it all works and you break it all down like Tinker Toys and put it back together yourself. But yeah, you could have people out there that are just so banged up right now that it's just too much for them to do on their own. They need some sort of direct thing. So then I can take that and basically download Lumen and Sophia into it. And I'm like, here, rub this all over yourself. This is going to be exciting to start doing this and documenting the results of what people say, because people are already noticing like a big jump increase in the energy just by the feedback I'm getting and all that. But what if this works? And the fact is, and that's why I started off earlier with like saying, even back then, at the beginning of this whole energy tool career, my friend was saying there's a consciousness in some of these. And the ones that she said were the consciousness ones were the ones that were most closely connected to a Sophia type thing. That means if she detected it in there, that means it's there. But I wasn't thinking about it, nor was I telling anybody else to think about it. I always say, I mean, this is what I've always said, is like, this will help connect you to them, not they're in here. And then they'll help you connect further. Like it's a subtle difference, but a big difference. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out. But anyway, that's enough for right now. We're going to save the other one for another video, probably the next video. It's pretty big too. But this is what we're focused on right now. Because getting away for that for a minute, I still feel like I'm still employing everything that we've learned since the new Chronicles started about letting go. You don't know anything, which means all these stories that we've been expecting things to happen, we don't know what's going to happen. Like this actually gets you into an interesting state we're going to talk about further. That being said, it still feels really weird out there. There was something this afternoon that really bothered me, and I didn't know what was causing it. I hadn't felt anything like that in a long time. Now, granted, it did shift today, like I said that it would. It's Halloween, so the weather's got to turn dark and crappy. It's not as extreme as it usually is. It's still actually quite warm out. We don't have the cold part, but the sun went away. But this afternoon, I was feeling something in the heart chakra that was coming from out there. Kind of like a foreboding warning sense, but it was hitting me in the heart chakra. And it kind of went away after a couple of hours. But I'm just mentioning it because I'm curious if anyone else felt anything quite like that. Okay. So I'll get all this stuff. I'll get that new oil listed, and then again, like any of the new stuff, we just put some other stuff up there. I just put that one glow in the dark one up there because that glow powder, the ones that glow real bright, it's not just glow powder, it's also UV reactive. That's why it's always freaking glowing and it glows so well. But I put one up there that's like a divine love light Sophia general purpose one up there. It's got a nice glow because it also adds the light element to it. And a lot more that we're going to be putting up there, plus that oil. But yeah, that's all the stuff that goes into like what we ship out. It's not just I made a pretty pendant, I'm going to send it to you. No, it's a freaking process. That's why it takes me a couple days usually to get them out, because I do a lot to it to make them do all that stuff. But so yeah, there will be a lot more stuff. Um, there will be a lot more stuff being listed. But if you think you need something specific, just ask me, because sometimes I get some of my best ideas from people's requests, something I didn't think of. All right, so the store is clumencreations.etsy.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook, that's our profile there. It's mainly just there. I'm not posting a lot of content there. It's mainly there so I can communicate with people. But also, if you have recently received packages and stuff and you are on Facebook, message me and I can add you to the private group. So and then you can talk to other people too, because the only people that get in there are people that have already got the stuff, and that's because I know I can trust them. Well, some of that stuff I talked about in the last video, and like people out in the world, not everybody's like you. The people you want to stay away from, they ain't never buying a pendant from me, much less wearing one. So if someone's actually getting my stuff, then I know they're good. Like seriously, it's that simple. Some of those other people, like they won't even touch it. Some of them they'll freaking just be repelled or triggered by it. But if they're actually getting them from me, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can trust you. No problem. That means you're part of the family, and that means if you need help with something, questions, whatever, like Sophia is going to chime in and help you whatever way we can. But all those links are in the description box below. Chris and the Illuminated Beauty Lumen. Just trying to butter her up. See you next time.